Well, hello, all you YouTubers out there in the world. So, I've been seeing a lot on the news, all these pundits, all these politicians, all of these people reporting on what's happening in Texas. But I'm going to tell you the truth because I actually live in Texas. I live in San Antonio. I've actually lived all over Texas. I've lived in Dallas, Fort Worth, El Paso, Corpus Christi, Houston, and now I live in San Antonio. So, I'm going to tell you what really happened throughout this incredible winter storm, and this is the truth. So my family and I, like I said, we live in a home, we have a house, we don't live in an apartment, we live in a house in San Antonio. So Sunday night, we lost all electricity and all water. Today is Friday, and we finally started getting regular electricity back Thursday, and finally water back Thursday night and a Friday morning, but it's still, there's not much pressure, so you don't really have that much water. Also, all the stores are sold out. My wife today went to try to buy groceries and everything's sold out. So we were able to get a few little things, and that was about it. No water for sure. So we're having to boil water, or we buy the more expensive single bottles of water down at the convenience stores. So also, luckily, knock on wood, I only lost one pipe that broke. That pipe, I was able to turn the water off to it without having to turn the water off to the whole house. So that ended up working out okay. Once everything starts to calm down, I'm going to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and I can fix the pipe myself. So it's not going to be that bad. So luckily, we made it out pretty good. Now, I was off this whole week. I had to call into work and explain to them the situation. Since we didn't have power, we were having to sit in the car to stay warm, and right now we only have one car because my wife's been staying home while my daughter's been homeschooling, so we only need one car. So we had sold our other car about a year ago, so we only have one car right now. So I had to tell my work, I was like, hey, I don't have any water or power. I can't leave my wife and daughter here at the house by themselves where they can't cook. They don't have no way to warm themselves because we're sitting in the car to stay warm. And since we had no way to cook, we didn't have hot food. So what I would do is I would get out during the day and go all over town to little convenience stores and try to find hot food because no fast food places were open and Walmart and all that wasn't open either. And it didn't matter if you had groceries because you couldn't cook it anyway because there was no electricity. So I would have to go out and scrounge around and drive all over town, even with the roads all iced up, and try to find food so I could keep my wife and my daughter. And so for about 3 days, I pretty much, I made sure that they ate, but I pretty much ate maybe once a day. And just whatever I could find. But anyway, luckily everything is starting to pass us, and hopefully it'll get better. I'm supposed to go back to work Monday. I don't know, maybe they'll fire me. Who knows? If they do, oh well, that's just life. I'll find another job. But I had to do what I had to do because I couldn't leave my family here chilling by themselves. Chilling, literally. So the main thing I want to talk about is, I'm sure you've heard all over the news about, the reason why Texas had this problem is because of wind power. And like I said, I was born in Texas. I'm 46 years old. I've lived my entire life all over the state of Texas. And anybody who's from Texas knows when you hear people on the right say, oh, well, it was because of green energy, they're lying their ass off. The only place where we have wind and solar is down by the coast. We have a couple farms down by the coast in Corpus and around Houston area. And then we have a couple way far west Texas out towards El Paso, like out near Fort Stockton. Everywhere else, if you've ever been to Texas, especially if you go from Pecos up to New Mexico border out in the Permian Basin, it's all natural gas. There are wells everywhere. They're everywhere. So unless you live here, you don't know the truth of the situation. Even our governor Abbott finally admitted that we only get about 10% of our power from green. Everything else is oil and natural gas and coal. Texas has always prided itself about being this big energy, oh, we're oil and we're cowboys, blah, blah, blah. So we don't give a shit here in Texas about green energies, And like I said, what we have is a very limited supply down on the coast and in far west Texas. Everything else is natural gas and oil. So all that is lies. Texas is deregulated. That's why they say we have our own grid. This is capitalism at its finest, because when you have capitalism and no federal regulation, it's all about making money. So you make the most money when you don't keep your equipment in tip-top shape. So the reason everything's screwed up here is because all of our gas lines were not insulated, and all of our turbines and all of our energy storage facilities and our water storage facilities were not insulated because, hey, it's Texas. It never gets cold here, right? Right. Wink, wink. And it's ridiculous. This is what capitalism gets you. Whenever you sell yourself to the person with the most money, this is what happens, because they don't give a shit. Also, let's look at, I want to get rid of this term global warming, because when you say global warming, the uneducated idiots always say, it's not warming now because look, it's cold. Use the term climate change, because when you say global warming, the idiots only see warm, their eyes glaze over. It's not warm today here, it's cold. So see, that proves that you're wrong. This is climate change. If you live in Texas, you see it all the time. I've lived here my whole life. I'm 46 years old. So I know from the time I was born in 1974 until the 2000s, we had snow. And like I said, I lived all over the state. Like if you lived in the Panhandle, then you've seen snow on a regular basis. But North Texas, South Texas, Central Texas, we hardly ever seen snow. I remember in my time as a child, snow 2 or 3 times. But it was funny, once the 2000s hit, we started getting snow a lot more. It even snowed when I was living down on the coast, which is very unusual. And then I remember back in 2011, and some of you football fans will remember this. This is when the Cowboys, for the first time ever, we were hosting the Super Bowl. And they had all of these things planned. And at the time, I was living in Dallas. And we had one of the hugest ice storms we ever had that totally ruined all of Jerry Jones's plans. And it was a nightmare. And that was in 2011. So here, 10 years later, this happens in 2021. So what people don't understand is when you use the term climate change, what climate change means is that you're going to get more extremes. So where it used to be when I was younger, we would get snow once every 5 or 10 years, and it was just a little bit of snow, maybe an inch or two, and it might be cold for a week. Now, when we do get cold weather, it is intense. It is like majorly intense. Like I remember as an adult, since the 2000s, like it's snowing on Christmas Eve when it never did that when I was a kid. I remember one time over at my grandma's house, me and her sitting there on Christmas Eve watching it snow and even talking about how it never snowed. And my grandma had lived in Texas her whole life. She died when she was 93. And she was like, I never remember a snow on Christmas Eve, but I do now. And that is the extremes. Not only, like I've been out here with all our hurricanes, Hurricane Allen going back to the 80s, Hurricane Harvey recently. I was actually living in Corpus when Hurricane Harvey hit. So I was very familiar with that. So we are having more extreme weather. And then the problem is like in the summertime, the droughts. I'm telling you, like I live in San Antonio now, and San Antonio is on an aquifer. Even now in the wintertime, we are on water restrictions. We get it every month in our bills telling us where the water level is and when we can water and what we can do. This is constant now. This isn't once every couple of years. This is every day, every month, every year, forever. You know, when I lived down in Corpus, Corpus has one lake. And it is over an hour away from Corpus. It's called Lake Corpus Christi, but it's an hour away from Corpus Christi. And they don't have any pipes built. They're trying to build pipes to Corpus Christi. So down there, water is always screwing up. And I remember I lived down in Corpus for 5 years, and in the summertime, we had to boil water all the time because we were always running out of water, and the machines were breaking down because of the heat and everything. And you were boiling water left and right. Like I remember you would go to, McDonald's or Whataburger, and they would give you a cup of soda, and it'd just be soda, no ice in it. And that was just a normal occurrence. And then when the water finally did come, I remember your shower would smell like because of all the chlorine that they would pump through the system because of how screwed up it was. So I think that, Texas likes to play a big game. But if you're from Texas, you know the realities of Texas. Texas likes to present itself to the world like we're so independent and we're the Lone Star State and we stand on our own 2 feet. And it's a bunch of bullshit. It's all hidden. When you live here in Texas, you finally understand what it's like. In the summertime, you're dying. You're always under drought restrictions. Everything, reports of failed crops, animals dying, people dying because they don't have air conditioners. There's always cooling centers because of the incredible heat here, and it's just going to get worse. And I think that Texas needs to realize, and the voters especially, I'm hoping, I hate Abbott and Ken Paxton and all of the leadership here in Texas. One thing that Texas can't say, and none of the voters or anybody that lives here in Texas can't say, well, it's them damn Democrats, because Texas, my entire life, has pretty much been ran by Republicans. I remember George Bush Jr., and I remember all of them. They've all been Republicans. So I think the last, Democrat, I can't remember the last Democrat. It's mostly all Republicans, and it's pretty much Republicans through every aspect. And so they can't point a finger at the Democrats and say it's your fault. No, this is Republicans own Texas 100%. So I think, I'm hoping that Beto O'Rourke will run for governor. I voted for him in, what was that? That would have been 2018 when he was running against Ted Cruz. I voted for you, Beto. I'm sorry you didn't win, but I'm hoping that you'll run in, I think it's 2022. And I'll vote for you again for governor, because we need a change here in Texas. Texas needs to quit being such a lone star. This is what's so funny. Texas talks about, we're going to secede. We can't even keep the water and power on. How are we going to succeed anything? It's so ridiculous. It's stupid. It's stupidity. We're going to succeed and we can't even freaking keep the stupid electricity and water on. We're like a third world country. We pride ourselves at being, we're the energy capital of America, and we suck. It's a joke, I know the rest of the world sees Texas as like this great, independent, tough guys. No, it sucks here, man. Texas, the only reason that I live in Texas, the only reason I stayed in Texas my whole life is because of the taxes. I have to say that Texas does have cheap taxes. And I like that because we don't have a state income tax. I did live in New Mexico for a while, and New Mexico was a nice state. One thing I have to say about New Mexico, their healthcare was really good, and it's a beautiful state. But their taxes, when I worked there, you had to pay income tax, state income tax, which it really wasn't that bad. But, that's the thing I liked about Texas and why I stayed here is because, I don't like to pay the state income tax. Maybe I should get used to it, and maybe we'd have a better state. Maybe we all should get used to it. But I'm saying that, Mother Nature it forced Texas blue. And this last week, Mother Nature has made Texas blue for sure. And I think maybe the voters need to look around and make Texas blue as well, because the way it's being ran now, it's a nightmare, and we're going to have to get on the ball, because things like this are not, I hear people, it's only once every 100 years. No, remember 2011, it's been 10 years, and then it's going to get to be 8 years, and then 5 years, and then 2 years, and then every year. So this is the truth of what Texas was. So whatever you hear on the news, make sure to watch this and then tell your friends about it, because this is the truth from somebody that's from Texas and knows the truth. So this is David, Zoe Zizzles. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great one. Bye.